It's Reality Check with Craig Price.
Well, welcome to a non-episode. What would this be? A bonus episode?
Yeah, bonus. It's called bonus.
We'll call it it's a breaking from reality instead of an actual reality check. You could tell by the intro music. We're talking about Breaking Bad because this is one of the greatest shows that have been on television history. And I know you wanted to say something, Alan, about it and talk about it and hash it out a little bit because it's so complex and it's so awesome.
Yes.
That I thought, hey, why don't we give it a shot? And so this is like a little extra episode that if you're here to listen to me talk about business or interview a business expert or have Alan and I talk about what movies are coming up, you can skip this episode. I won't be offended.
That will be coming later.
Yes, Alan will be coming back for the holiday season. But this is for a special Breaking Bad episode. And so how did you find out about Breaking Bad? Because neither one of us started on opening day, so to speak.
Right. Well, I'd heard, when it came on AMC a few years back and everybody showed the ads and you hear the vibe about it, how people were seeming to enjoy the show. And it's always that one show where I was meaning to get to. And then, as the shows got better and better, and then that episode, or the season 4, with the finale of season 4 with Gus Fring. And then everybody went nuts. They said, "Okay, this is the show you've got to watch this show. It's amazing."
And if you haven't seen any of the episodes and you want to, turn this off now because we're going to spoil the hell out of it up until the last couple episodes. Obviously, we haven't seen the last episode.
Right. There's 3 more episodes left as of this, and we haven't seen them yet. And all the speculation that we may be doing may be wildly off course.
Oh,
but
sure.
That's okay.
But if we talk about something and we spoil something for you, it's your own fault. You have been warned.
Exactly.
So here with Ain't It Cool's awesome movie reviewer mostly. Yeah, I don't think you do.
No, I don't do television.
No.
But I've been meaning to. I would love to write something up about this because I think Breaking Bad is almost like pure cinema. It is one of the best shows I've ever seen. It's like The Godfather. Has how it's progressed from the very beginning to now. It's just amazing. The acting, the story. Even the camera composition and the directing is just. I'm not a big television guy. I don't watch a lot of TV, mostly because it's when I'm not watching movies, I'm playing video games or reading or something. And I watch certain television shows, but I don't really watch them. I watch them mostly for escape, to relax or something. I'll just put something on, so I wind down from the day. You can't wind down with Breaking Bad.
No, you get wound up.
Yeah, you get wound up, and Breaking Bad is just one of those shows where, as a film fan, I just admire everything about it. I admire the directing, the cinematography, the script, the acting. It's all great. And I just wanted to talk about it because it's so good to talk about.
What I like about it is they kind of follow. They got the American version where, not that there's a British version, but the American version of television is where they start something and they try to milk it for all it's worth.
Yeah.
They're doing the British version hybrid, where the British version is usually they have 6 to 12 episodes. They know what's going to happen ahead of time. They do it like a story. It's just a 12-episode story, and then they end it.
Yeah.
And then the next season, they'll start a whole new thing.
Right.
Because I love it that Breaking Bad, while it keeps going on, they do have a definitive end.
Yeah.
They said it wasn't going to go more than 5 years. But episode 1 of every season opener always seems to perfectly, not like Lost, where it just kind of happened to, or they try to kind of ham-fist it back into it.
Yeah.
The first episode always seemed to fit with the last episode and all these things in between. So it's like they sat down ahead of time and really thought about what are we doing this season instead of just kind of winging it, though they do wing it.
Yeah, they do wing it they wing it a bit.
They wing it quite a bit. But I know for a fact that Jesse Pinkman was supposed to die in the first season.
Okay,
but they liked Aaron Paul so much.
Yeah.
And they kept him.
Yeah.
So things like that, they're super flexible, but they have an arc. They know that this is gonna happen.
Exactly. They have there are echoes in the show episodes that we're watching now. They're all the way from the first episode, like that whole scene where you see Walter White on the camera going, "My name is Walter White. This is not a confession." Until the episode a few weeks back where it says, "This is Walter White and this is my confession." It's almost like it's cyclical. And what you said about British television versus American television, I totally agree. And I think the best TV is the television series that knows where it's going. It knows how it's ending. And Breaking Bad does, unlike Lost, where I really don't think that they knew what they were doing. You know,
they did, except they had to fill it out because I think Lost should have been about 3 years.
Yeah.
And I think they had an idea of how it was going to end, and I think they had an idea of how it was going to begin, but they didn't have an idea what they were going to do season 3 and season 4, which was painfully obvious.
Yeah.
So when you feel like you have to make stuff up to fill, that's when it starts to get bad. Now, there have been episodes of Breaking Bad where it did 1 or 2 in season 3 and 4 where you'd watch the show and then 45 minutes would be in and you're like, this is kind of a filler episode.
Yeah.
And then, wham, they'd hit you with something at the last 15 minutes when,
yeah.
oh, it was totally worth watching.
Right. Well, there's actually, one of the episodes that is kind of a filler episode, but it's one of my favorite episodes of Breaking Bad. Even the filler episodes are great. Fly, where they're trying to disinfect the room.
Yeah.
That was directed by Ryan Johnson, who directed Looper, and he's also directing this next week's episode. And I really dug that episode because it really lays into the character of Walt and how he's contaminated now and he's trying to get clean, but he'll never be able to do it. Yeah. Never. And it's one of those really character-building episodes that even the filler episodes, like you're saying, the ones that aren't exactly progressing the plot, still have a lot to say. And this last season 5, there haven't been any fillers, you know.
No, it seems like what they've done is they've taken 2 seasons, compressed them into a half season.
Yeah.
So every episode is just jam-packed with there's always something being resolved, which is, you know, they're tying up loose ends. Right. They're creating a whole bunch of more, but they're ramping up the excitement, the anticipation, sometimes the stress level. Because sometimes, like the very last episode that we've both seen is the big shootout at where Hank finally arrests Walt.
Right.
And him hiding behind that rock forever,
and
just built up the tension. It just they could have taken in some TV shows, they would have had him hid behind a rock for a second, and then they would have finally come out and they had the big confrontation. But you could see the resolve, the resignation on Walt's face when he finally realizes, oh, crap.
Yeah, and the tears are twinkling in his eyes. And you can even see a little bit of relief in there. It's like, thank God it's over. You know, it's funny. I'm one of those guys, you can't talk in a movie theater, right? You never talk in a movie theater. It's one of those things that bugs me when I see people doing that. But I absolutely yell at the TV for Breaking Bad. I yell at the TV like this last episode. I was on my feet, just like, if I would have broken it if I'd have thrown something at it. And exactly, they have the way they ramp up the tension in this last episode was just brilliant. This last episode was directed by a longtime Breaking Bad director. Her name is Michelle McLaren. Remember that name because she should be given all the franchises. She's that great a director.
They bring her in for especially when there's a lot of action.
Yeah, action, and when a serious story progression is happening, they bring her in. But yeah, that was the tension of that phone call that Hank makes to Marie, and everybody who's ever seen a movie knows it's like, oh my God, you know, it's like the guy going off to fly that one mission, and he says goodbye to his wife, and he puts her picture right on the dashboard of the airplane before they go off to war, and you just know what's going to happen.
Well, I thought that was a great juxtaposition with Walt, because Walt always shoots off his mouth at the wrong time.
Right.
As bright as he is, as smart as he is, as calculating as he is, when he doesn't get credit,
it's his pride. Yeah.
Same thing with Hank.
Yeah.
Hank had to spend that extra time. If he had just gotten in the truck
and
driven him away, they would have missed the cousins with all the guns coming.
Right.
But no, he had to call Marie.
Yeah, well, see, there's a difference, though. Walt has to prove he's the biggest guy in the room. Hank only has to prove it to Marie. You know, and that's who he really wants to prove it to. But Walt's got to always be he has to be the smartest guy in the room, and that's his downfall. Is his pride and his pride in his own intelligence. And you know, he didn't take Jesse seriously, he didn't take Hank seriously, and he paid for it. And that's what we get, that great ending. I love that this is a show about pride, and it's a show. I mean, it's interesting. When Walt decides to name himself Heisenberg was a scientist who came up with a theory, the idea that examining something and researching something changes it. The idea of going into, like, if you want to look at some sort of a microbe or something, the very nature of examining what you're doing is changing it. and it's called I'm probably blowing all my science high school lessons by saying I might be wrong, but the Heisenberg principle, that's what it means. Examining something changes something. And as we watch Walt from the very beginning of the show to now, it's almost as if we are participants, in his downfall. It's weird because the very beginning we kind of want Walt to win, I'm rooting for him. It's like, well, he's only going to get a little dirty. He's only going to make a little meth. He's only making enough to get out of the situation that he's in, which is he's dying of cancer and he needs the money for the medical stuff. And then the further we go, and now I'm totally on Hank's side. Walt is a villain to me at this point. I love Bryan Cranston's work and how he subtly twists the knife. And if you're still sympathetic, I'm sympathetic to Walt, but I'm not on his side. You know what I'm saying?
And I think his wife we've lost sympathy for her as well.
Yeah, exactly.
She started off as, an innocent victim of Walter White. In fact, she called herself a hostage at one point, and it kind of felt that way to some degree.
Yeah.
And now either Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah.
Or just the fact that, and it may be an overall theme that good people can turn bad. Yeah. It doesn't take very much.
No, it doesn't. You can't get a little pregnant. You can't get a little dirty. It's all the way. And the Skylar's arc is particularly fascinating to me because she was this innocent person, didn't know anything about what Walt was doing until season 3 when she found out, and then she was totally against it, trying to get him out of the house. And it was like erosion. Eventually, she had to be brought in. And now I think that her mind is thinking, well, as long as the money is safe and I can make sure that money goes to our kids, I'm going to back his play because he's not going to be around much longer, And I just the way she's calculating and the way she talks to Walt, she's like she's there, not there. You know what I'm saying? She's just waiting out the clock. I don't know if she loves Walt anymore. I don't think she does. I think she's trying to make it easy on him because she knows that he's not going to be around much longer. And as soon as he's gone, they're gonna have all that money, and they'll just figure out what to do at that point.
And she's got a business. She can that is doing okay. She can just continue on. And I think that is the pride and in the misstep that a lot of people make in this show is that they think everything's going to turn out okay no matter what. They think that they can do all this stuff. He can go make meth, just a little bit of meth, and if he just makes a little bit of meth, he can go back to his life.
Yeah.
And it's these major decisions that you cannot go back from.
Right.
Like when Jesse Pinkman shoots the guy in the face, the Gale in the face. That is a huge, profound change because he didn't have to kill really. Who was he killing before then? Almost every time he tried to kill somebody, something else happened.
He couldn't do it,
and he wasn't involved. Like when the two meth heads. He didn't kill the meth head, even though he took credit for it. After a while,
he did.
Every time he tried to kill someone, since he's the one that he's kind of. I think he's the proxy for the audience. He's the one
he really is.
He's the shred of humanity that's left.
Yeah,
and
by him being the proxy, he brought us down to his level when he killed Gale, and that's one of my favorite moments in the whole show, and it changed him profoundly from that point. You're right; nothing was the same for Jesse after that. Even his being upset over Walt and Brock poisoning Brock, that Jesse, a lot of that is Jesse's guilt because he put them into the vicinity of each other in the first place. It's his fault too.
Yeah, because when Walt kills. It hasn't, even when he accidentally, he didn't accidentally, when he self-defense very early on in season 1, he traps those guys in the trailer and kills them with the chemicals.
Yeah.
He's got a little issue with it, but not nearly enough.
Right.
He's got that first pang of, wait a second, this is not what humans do to each other. I feel guilty that I had to kill another person.
Right.
It wasn't self-defense. Now he starts to rationalize it. And now because he's so smart, I think he's been able to rationalize everything.
Yeah.
And that, I think this is where smart people get bad raps, is that they is because they are so smart that they can start to rationalize it. They get the emotion out of it, and they can start weighing the pros and the cons. And
it's all it's all a complicated problem. It's not life. Jesse lives. Walt examines. I think it's just fascinating to watch. We haven't really seen Walt. I mean, he was obviously pretty low in this last episode. It's probably the lowest he's ever been. But I don't think we've seen him hit rock bottom yet until that flash forward that was in the season 5.
Yeah, we do know we know that he is going to be from New Hampshire.
Yep.
He gets a whole new identity. His hair grows out. It's a year later, so he doesn't die in 6 months like he thinks he's going to with the cancer coming back. He's got a huge gun.
Yeah.
Obviously, people know who he is because someone has ripped into his house and sprayed Heisenberg over everything.
Yeah.
So we know that somehow there is going to be consequences. So Hank, which, when I saw the cousins come up, I'm like, they're not going to kill Hank, are they? They can't kill Hank. We don't know that yet. But
yeah.
I have a feeling they're going to kill Hank.
I think Hank's dead. I think Gomi's dead too.
Well, I think Michael, the buddy, his cop buddy, I think he's the red-shirted ensign. I knew he was going to die. I mean, I knew he was going to die. I mean, just him being there, I'm like, oh yeah, we'll kill him.
Yeah.
Hank may still get out of it. We don't know. That's why they ended on a cliffhanger. There may be a way he's gotten out of tougher scrapes.
Yeah.
Jesse,
I don't know. I don't think Jesse's going to make it to the end of the show. I'd be really surprised. We still don't know who that big gun is for. I have a feeling it's for Uncle Jack and the cousins and the KKK rednecks. I think it's for them, but we don't know for sure.
Aryan Nation.
Yeah.
It's not KKK. They're cowards that don't wear sheets. Aryan Nation who wear sheets on their head. Aryan Nation are the worst type of racist because they wear tattoos on their necks.
Exactly. They're advertising. The funny thing is that I loved about this last episode, everything Walt has to have is under his control. It's always got to be under his control, but he put his trust into something that he couldn't control, and that was Jack and his guys. Jack, as soon as he made that phone call, Jack says, "There's no way in hell I'm not going out there."
You just gave him the money. You just told him where your money is.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, of course I'm going to go out there. I'm going to blow everybody away. He may be gunning for Walt just so they can just start digging up the place, and they get all that cash. We don't know what's going on. But yes, Walt at some point gets away. It's interesting to note that Walt's new name is Lambert, which is Skylar's maiden name. And there was an interesting theory online. Yeah. There's an interesting theory online about how Walt takes the attributes of the people that he kills. Like the first guy in season 1 where he choked the guy with the bicycle lock, he would cut his crusts off his sandwich. He says that's the way he liked to do it. And ever since then, Walt would eat his sandwiches with the crust cut off.
He pretty much turned into Gus.
Yeah, he turned into Gus.
Almost exactly the same thing as Gus.
He even started, I think, Mike used to drink his drink on the rocks, and then once Mike died, Walt started taking his drink on the rocks or something like that. Or it may have been reversed, maybe without ice or whatever. But
Mike was a great character, and I'm sorry they killed him because Mike was what old school criminals and new school criminals.
Yeah.
And I think his death was a segue into it's the wild, wild west. There are no rules anymore.
There's
because
no honor. Exactly.
He always was loyal. He had certain rules that he did by. His thing, I loved him because he's like, we had a good thing. Why do you got to go screw it up?
Yeah.
He's the career criminal. You don't need to change for change's sake.
Yeah, he was kind of a knight in his weird way. I love Jonathan Banks is outstanding in that part. I'm nominated for an Emmy, and I would love for him to win. But Mike Ehrmantraut is a great character. He one of my favorite lines in the show ever is when I guess Jesse he's not kidnapped, but he's going on that trip with Mike, to go to pick up the dead drops, the money, and Walt has no idea what's going on. He tells Mike, he says, if you hurt Jesse, I'm going to come after you or whatever. And Mike just goes, "I'm crossing my heart, Walter."
Yeah.
This dead-eyed stare was. I mean, at some point it was almost parody. It was so funny. That's a great character. I love that they had the gumption to kill him off. I really wish they hadn't, but I mean, I love that the story went there because Mike is such a great character. You almost want to see more of him. I mean, you would love to see like a prequel, just like they're doing a prequel for Saul.
The one thing but here's the thing: I don't think I could never reconcile the fact that Mike he said he was like no. He even beat the crap out of Walt in that bar when they asked him to join forces after Gus was dead.
Yeah.
No, and then I didn't think the decision because they took his money.
Yeah.
was strong enough for him to do that. I think he could have made. They were going to take his granddaughter's money, all the money he had saved in his account offshore, and so everything he was doing was for his granddaughter. In fact, he even walked away from his granddaughter to not necessarily save himself, but to save the money.
Right.
I think he could have joined forces with all those other connections somewhere else and made money somewhere else. He did not have to partner with Walt.
No,
he even said every time that Walt is just a bomb waiting to go off.
Yeah, but I also think that a lot of it was just because of, circumstance and location. It's like, well, he's upwards of, he's got to be in his 70s, we assume, high 60s, low 70s. And we're thinking, well, where else am I going to go? Walt's killed everybody, all the connections that we would have. I might as well stick with this guy and finish this thing out. It isn't going to be much longer. He probably rationalized in his mind. It's like, well, a year maybe, and then we're done. I can't imagine sticking more past that. But, Mike had a sense of honor, and it was the honor that put him in Walt's crosshairs because he wouldn't kill those guys that were in prison, the 9 witnesses. And now nobody has any honor except for Hank, in a weird way. But Hank is even breaking his own honor because Hank is going kind of around the normal loop to catch Walt.
Well, he has to because of the relationship between him and Pinkman.
Yeah.
They would never allow him to talk to Pinkman in normal channels because he beat the hell out of him.
Right.
So he has to go back, and he has to kind of go back channel. Though I love the whole, we're going to fake this picture of your brain and talk to Thule because that guy's an idiot. But his honor it's really his honor is he has to take a back seat. It has to take a back seat because that's the only way he can kind of make himself look good in the long run.
Right.
Is by not telling anybody what he's doing.
Right.
Which is why he's out in the freaking middle of the desert without any backup.
Yeah. And Dean Norris is so good in this show. I mean, everybody gives Bryan Cranston credit, and they should, because he is amazing. He's amazing for how he plotted this character from the very beginning. It doesn't feel so plot. I mean, I don't want to say it feels plotted out, because we knew from the very beginning of the show this is going to be it's in the title. It's going to be Breaking Bad. It's going to be the study of a good man who goes bad, and we're also seeing a weird. It's almost like it's breaking good, and we're looking at Hank, who in the very beginning is not a very likable character.
No, he's actually. I think I've heard some interviews with Vince Gilligan, the creator, that Hank was just there to show the opposite of Walt. So he was really there as a foil. He was just an example, a goofball cop. So when Walt started to do stuff, and you're like, well, look at the idiot cops.
Yeah.
But Dean Norris, again, like Aaron Paul became such a likable character. They wanted to see more about Jesse Pinkman.
Right.
They started to realize that this Dean Norris guy can act.
Yeah, I think it really started turning around for that character when, it really started turning around when we went to the El Paso crime scene and the Tortuga that exploded and everything, and then he kind of went into a little post-traumatic stress, and then it really came into full effect when the brothers attacked him in the parking lot, and then that was just an amazing sequence, one of my favorite sequences in the show. And at that point, I was pretty much Team Hank, I love how that character, he isn't a likable guy. He's still very much of a jerk. He has morals. He knows what's right. He knows what's wrong. They don't ever mix, even though he gets himself a little dirty with the situation that he's going on with Jesse right now, and that may be the price that he's paying at the end of the show. But Walt's a bad guy. He doesn't care if he's family. Walt's bad, and he's going to bring him down. One of my favorite scenes in the show was when they suspended him, and he's going down the elevator with his wife, with Marie, and the door is shut, and he starts crying and just bawling, and it means so much to him. The door's open, and it's like nothing ever happened, and that was Dean Norris. Dean Norris is a fantastic actor, and he did a great job in the show, and I haven't kept up with the Emmys enough to know if he's won any for this show.
I don't believe
but he deserves to for this season for sure. I would actually put him over Bryan Cranston at this point because although Bryan Cranston's just as brilliant as anything, Dean Norris the way he's transformed this character from the very beginning until now is very impressive to me. And besides, Bryan Cranston's already got 2 of them, I think.
5 of them.
5 of them. Okay,
yeah. He's got 5 of them. So. where's it all going? I guess that's the thing we want to talk about is where is it all going? Because though I do want to say one thing about Bryan Cranston is that he's an amazing actor. I mean, in anything he's done. I mean, he's one of these guys because if you remember what he's done in his life, he was the dentist on Seinfeld who was anti-dentite, and he's been in a lot of different things. He's in Argo. He was obviously in Malcolm in the Middle, which is a problem for me because in Malcolm in the Middle, he's always in his underwear.
Yeah. Or on roller skates or doing something weird.
Well, no, he's always in his underwear. Walter White, we've seen him in his underwear quite a bit.
Yeah.
And every time Bryan Cranston runs, all I see is Hal. Because he still has that goofy run where he kind of has a waddle run when he's going. Because we've seen him run a couple times, and every time my brain just clicks over that because Hal was such a great character. So where is it all going to end, though? Because we'll go down the line in what I will call order of least importance.
Right.
Because I think we'll start with Marie.
Okay,
yeah, we're
Marie?
least
Okay.
important. Marie is like the least important. She's just there because she's Hank's rock, and she's and she's a good wife to in general. She's a good person.
Other than being a klepto, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's and I think they really haven't dwelled on that too often. It's just,
that she stole the ultimate thing in that other episode where she stole their baby.
She didn't steal the baby.
She's trying
tried to steal the baby. But
Yeah.
I think that wasn't klepto because I think she was trying to do the right thing, just the wrong way.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what a lot of this is all about: doing the right thing the wrong way.
Exactly.
Even Hank's doing the right thing the wrong way.
Yeah.
Walt started doing all of this stuff for the right reasons.
Yeah.
He just did it for the horribly wrong way.
Yeah.
So
I would agree with that. That's the theme of the show.
yeah, and so Marie, I think she's probably safe.
I think she's going to live after this last episode and the shootout. I think if Hank doesn't come home, she's going straight to the authorities. Because obviously we know at this point that everybody knows about Walter White. I mean, they spray painted his house. I think it becomes national news. Everybody finds out that the great drug dealer was once his chemistry teacher. I think it all gets out there, and I think it's because of her. I think she's going to be the one to expose everything. She's just, I mean, if Hank, God forbid, gets killed in this episode, we don't know yet. Again, but I suspect he probably will. Marie's going to make a drive straight to the FBI and just give them everything, all the information, or the DEA, whoever. The authorities, she's going to give them everything, and that's going to be it. I mean, what more would she have to hold on to if Hank is gone? She'd have no choice. She's going to do that. So, whether or not she makes it to the very end, I'm not sure, but I think that's her integral role now.
Next would be Saul. Now we know Saul is going to be doing. It's already signed deal. He's doing prequels.
Yeah,
which is great because Bob Odenkirk is a very funny writer. I don't think people understand how funny he is.
Yeah,
because my wife didn't know who he was.
Yeah,
she saw him for the first time out of Saul costume on the Daily Show the other night, promoting something completely different.
Right.
And
he's got a book with David Cross right now.
Right, but he didn't have the comb over. He didn't look the sleazeball, and she's like, he looks like a nice guy, and it's like, what's Bob Odenkirk?
Yeah.
He's,
Mr. Show's hilarious. I love that show.
He's a comedy writer. He's very funny, and so he's been in all kinds of other things. They're doing a prequel with Saul because that proves that we still don't know if Saul makes it out.
We don't know if Saul makes it out or not.
I'm surprised he's lived this long. Quite frankly,
yeah, me too. I have a distinct feeling that that Saul won't make it. We'll see. I mean, either that or he just makes a run for it and he's gone, which wouldn't be out of the question because he has the contacts to do that.
Oh, and it wouldn't definitely be out of character either.
Yeah,
he's a weasel.
I think he's gonna run. He's probably gonna run. One of my favorite.
Well, I think maybe his pride being the big known not the hot shot, but the big known lawyer in town.
Well, I don't think his pride extends to his life. I think he'll cut out. I think that he'll figure out a way to get out of there. It's going to be funny to see how accurate our predictions are. The prequel show is going to be funny for me. I hope it's as good as I anticipate. What I would be hoping for is if they manage to get David Cross in on that show. David Cross is like the other lawyer in town, and they're fighting for clients. That would be the way I would see that show going.
Or how about a 3-camera shoot sitcom?
Yeah,
with Saul,
or see something. That'll be fascinating. But I think Saul's gonna either die or run. I don't think he's gonna be in that last episode. It'll probably be nowhere. He's probably gonna be either in Belize or in Belize.
Right. Now, I'm blanking on the lady's name, but she's the one that is the liaison between
Lydia.
Lydia. She's in charge of getting drugs to the Eastern Europeans.
I think that she manages to get clean. or not clean, or I think she manages to get away. She may be one of those people that gun is for. I think that because she's the distributor. She's the one who gets all that stuff out there. She's not gonna. Jack and them aren't gonna kill her if they can get a lot of money out of her.
Well, I think she also has, is it Tom?
Todd.
Todd.
Yeah.
Todd in her pocket.
Yeah.
I think
that was kind of weird.
It is kind of creepy, but that's. You got a guy who's kind of goofy.
Yeah.
He's like a Matt Damon clone that went wrong.
Somebody online called him Meth Damon.
Yeah. He would be like if you tried to clone Matt Damon and you got a little bit wrong. You maybe used frog DNA to cover up, like in Jurassic Park, just to kind of fix it up.
Yeah.
He's not the brightest kid, though he's got enough ability to at least
He
mimic.
can mimic, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he can copy, but he doesn't have and he's got this like the most pleasant Boy Scout personality, except he's a brutal killer. He's a really fascinating character. He's like the anti-Jesse,
Right.
Where he none
Shot
of
that kid without even hesitation.
Yeah, none of this crime stuff phases him in the least. I mean, it doesn't even bother him. He's a true sociopath, psychopath, really. It's an interesting character, and I really like Jesse Plemons plays him. He's really great. Who knows what happens to him?
I think Tom and the cousins. So you think Lydia's going to get out? I think she's going to, being a corporate weasel, I'm sure she's going to find an escape route.
Oh yeah, she'll get out of it.
But I have a feeling that Tom and the cousins are definitely going to, we are going to see a spectacular and fiery end to those guys.
Yeah, there's going to be some sort of a shootout. I imagine we're still in the middle of one already.
Yeah.
But
and it's interesting to see where Todd lands in the middle of that, because I think he does have quite a bit of loyalty to Walt.
He does, but he's going to be more loyal to his family. It's a weird loyalty that he has to Walt, but it's not going to override his family. I think Walt is very much a teacher figure to him, but Jack is family. I don't think it's going to change that. I love his ringtone for Walt, though. That was the only big laugh of that last episode. Science.
Yeah, it's blinded me with science. Yeah, so I think the cousins go.
Where do you think Walt Jr. is going to be? I think he's dead.
I can't see them killing Walt Jr. Only and again, you know me, I like to think outside of the actual story sometimes, because I know how the writing room works a little bit, and maybe they kill Walt, but I think he and Marie are the two in the family that survive.
I don't. I think Walt Jr.'s dead. I think he's dead as hell. I think that he's going to be the sacrificial lamb because he's the true innocent left. He's the only one who doesn't know a damn thing going on. And I think that either that or they're going to kill Holly, which, Jesus, if they do that, that's going to be...
That's the baby.
Yeah.
Well, they could kill the baby because we don't really know the baby.
Yeah, but I mean, that's horrible. I mean,
no, like, I know that. But that would serve your purposes without the emotional...
Yeah.
Because it would be more like, oh my God, they killed a baby versus, oh my God, they killed someone we've seen for the last 5 years. We know him. We like him. He's got his own issues.
One of the possibilities is that Marie needs witnesses. Marie needs people to prove it. And maybe she just comes over because Skylar's her sister, and she says, look, maybe when Hank dies or something, it's like, this has gone on far enough. You're gonna come with me. I mean, it might be that last grasp of family between the two of them.
I think you're close. My personal theory is I think Marie does convince Skylar to let the kids go.
Yeah.
I think that's where Marie is. Marie's the safe haven. Marie's going to be the one that rats everybody out. I probably agree with that if that does happen. But Marie, I think, this is where the kids can go so everybody else can get their comeuppance and get what they deserve without sacrificing the kids.
It's possible, but I think that, I don't know,
You just want to see him kill Walt.
All them damn breakfasts.
Well, it was when he switched his name to Finn.
Flynn,
At 16. I mean, bullshit. That's
Well, there's some comedy speculation online. The final shot of the episode will be, Walt Jr. shaving his head in the shower and coming out with the hat, and Flynn, the new meth lab boss. No, I think he's gone. I think he buys it. I think that they're going to go after Walt because they're going to want him to cook, and and these guys aren't. I mean, Gus in his weird way had a sense of honor. I mean, it came to a point where he says, "Okay, I'm gonna freaking kill you." But Gus gave Walt a lot of rope
and some warning. He even said, "I will kill you, your son, your baby daughter. I will do this."
Yeah,
he didn't just do it.
But Gus kind of had a sense of honor. I mean, I don't know if he would ever actually do those things. I think he probably would have if it came to it. But he had the sense to warn Walt about it. These guys aren't like that. The Walt says if Walt says no,
damn skinheads, you can't trust them.
No. You know what the hell?
I mean, yeah.
I think the first time Walt says no to him, I mean Walt Jr. is dead. And then it says the next time we shoot Holly, and then that'll be it. You know.
Well, then the Skylar left, which is where we go to the next. Because where do you see Skylar fitting in?
I think Walt kills her.
You think Walt kills Skylar?
I do. I think Walt kills her.
For what reason?
Maybe because the break in loyalty. I think that she's going to, I mean, again, all speculation, but I think that she's going to go with Marie. I think she's going to break rank out of this. She's got all this. Maybe this whole thing that she's been calculating is trying to bring Walt down. She doesn't actually commit these crimes. She's suggesting them to him. You know, it's like she suggested to Walt that Jesse would get better off dead. And then Walt is burying himself. And then when all this is done, she says, this is my husband. He's an evil person, and maybe Walt, in his revenge, kills her. I mean, like I said, those things where he takes on the attributes of the people he kills. Well, he's got his wife's maiden name on his driver's license in that first season.
So the whole absorbing the soul of the vanquished kind of
basically. Thing? I mean, and that's a theory. That's an online theory.
Well, we don't know anything, and we're not in the know. This is unlike movies where you have some connections, and you hear things from certain people who actually have.
Yeah.
Like Drew, whenever he posts anything on Fix, I kind of believe him because he's one of the few people that doesn't like to just throw things out there just to see him stick.
Right.
So we both know people who will say things that may be in the know. We're in the blank. We're just in the weeds here, just guessing, which is the fun part.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's fun about it. I think he kills her. I don't think she makes it to the end of the show.
I don't think she makes it to the end, but I don't think Walt kills her. I think that her death is the reason why there's this big gun.
Yeah, I mean that may be part of it too.
This whole we're gonna kill people. I think she's gonna let the kids go. I think she's already tried to kill herself once.
Mm-hmm.
I think she sees that her end is not going to be well. I think she's going to go down in a ball of flames as well somewhere.
Maybe she kills herself. Maybe she actually falls through with it.
I'm thinking it's going to be a little bit more. Maybe it's something involved where she is a in the crossfires somehow.
I mean, she's the Lady Macbeth at this point. She's not as dirty as Walt, but she's dirty now.
Oh no, she's at this point. She's almost as dirty as Walt because she knows of all the stuff that she's done. She's actively participating, not passively just letting it happen. She's laundering money. She's giving him hints on who to kill.
Yeah.
She is no longer innocent, and she's got a lot of blood on her hands just by the fact that she allows it to happen. She continues to support the infrastructure that's killing everybody.
Yeah.
So that brings us to Hank.
He's dead.
I think Hank's dead too.
I think we had his closure. I think
that phone call to Marie.
The phone call was his closure. I mean, he got to the point where he was able to get Walt in cuffs. He actually arrested him. He's got him down, dead to rights. I'm curious to see how all this would hold up in a court of law because it definitely feels like it's coercion or some sort of entrapment.
TV law,
it's TV law. Yeah, but I mean, in real law, I don't know if he'd actually be able to pull this off, but. He's at that point now where his character's kind of come full circle. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't make it out of the shootout. I think he gets killed.
And I
feel sad about that because I love that character.
But Hank was awesome. But he was an asshole. He started off as an asshole. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about it. He started off as a obnoxious, somewhat racist, goofball cop, and now and through the time. Especially through what happened with the DEA when he went to El Paso, he became less of an asshole. Became more focused on his job and what the real purpose is.
Yeah,
because I think he was kind of the hotshot guy that just kind of drove around and like, hey, I'm shooting like the bully who becomes a cop.
Yeah. And, well, my favorite aspects of the character is that Hank seems to wear shirts that are like 2 sizes too small because he refuses to think that he has a gut. He's like Hank has his own sort of sense of pride. Walt's pride is overblown, huge, monstrous. It destroys everything around him. Hank has his own personal pride, but I mean it's not nearly the size of Walt's. But he holds himself up as to be this different kind of guy. But he has his morals, and like I said, and he's a great character. But I don't think he makes it out of that Indian reservation, which I can't pronounce.
And so then that leaves us to the last 2 guys. Jesse Pinkman. Where do you think he's going to live, bitch? Is he going to live, bitch? I just love that he says it. And I guess wherever he goes, people want him to yell bitch at him.
Yeah. It's going to be hard for Aaron Paul to break that. He's going to have to find some roles that are totally opposite of the way Jesse is. And I think he's actually going that way with this movie he's doing called Exodus. I don't know much about it, but I don't think he dies in the shootout. But I don't think he makes it out of the show either.
He could also be the one that the big gun is for.
Yeah.
Because I think at this point, it all has to come. We thought it was going to be a big lead up to Walt and Hank.
Yeah.
The last year and a half, it seemed like it was going to be a bit, and it kind of has. But we know that there's 3 more episodes left, so it's not quite. I think there's always going to be. There's got to be an end. The end point is always. It was always looked like it was going to be Jesse and Walt.
Yeah. I mean, it very well could be. I mean, obviously they hate each other now. There was a shot in the last episode where you see Gomez put these keys in his pocket or something like that, the car keys, and Jesse's in the car now. I think Jesse.
I think he
figures out how to get away. But whatever happens between the two of them, I don't anticipate Jesse living at the end. Jesse had his chance when he was going to get in that car and start his new life, and he didn't take it, and I think he's going to pay for that. But I don't think he dies in the shootout. I guess which leaves us the big honcho, Walter White.
With Jesse, I mean, I still think Brock is going to play a role. I still because they kind of reintroduced Brock a little bit. I mean, there was no reason for him to have Walt show up.
I think that was just the tension between them.
I think so, and I think it also was to just remind people that Brock is, because we still haven't figured out how he poisoned Brock, because Brock still says hello. He still looks hesitant, but you can't tell if that's a 5-year-old kid who's shy, or that is a 5-year-old kid who knows that guy tried to kill him.
He doesn't. I don't think Brock knows, but he kind of. Kids
feels bad around him.
Kids have a sense of that sort of thing. Well, Walt probably did exactly what it looked like. Threw it in cereal. That was it.
Yeah.
It's funny how we don't know how he did it, but I'm really curious of what happens to Jesse. I wonder if he finds out about Jane, because I mean, Brock was bad, but the fact that Walt just watched Jane gargle on her own vomit, and didn't do anything to do about it, and which was pretty much the moment for me when Walt started to shift, the sympathy started to shift from him.
I think that was more. I could see where he lost a little of his humanity at that point.
Yeah,
I'm not sure you could still frame it. I mean, he almost said it a couple times. Usually when he's drunk.
Yeah.
When Walt's drunk, I think one time he was talking to his son and he called him Jesse.
I'm sorry about Jane or something like that. Yeah.
But he was able to make it like. He was able to twist it back into I'm sorry about Jane in general.
Yeah.
You're right. I think right now he could still quite easily shift the blame on that particular one, because I mean, unless he wanted to taunt him and make him feel horrible, which is not beyond Walt.
That would be the way he would play it out. He was like, you let Jane die, and I watched it happen. I watched you let Jane die, and all this other stuff, and who knows how that'll play out if that ever comes to light. That would be obviously. I mean, at that point, Jesse would just kill him, or want to shoot him. Then maybe that brings out the big gun at the end, but. I don't think Jesse lives, but I don't think he dies in this last episode.
Oh, sure. No, I think we still got. I think he's a finale kind of guy.
Yeah.
And that leaves us to Bryan Cranston, Walt, Mr. White, Heisenberg.
Yep. Does he die at the end?
Well, we know he doesn't die in a shootout.
Yeah.
We know that he lives long enough and goes through enough treatments that his hair grows back.
Yeah. Either that or it's a wig. We don't know.
Or it's a wig, but it looks.
I don't think it is.
It looks too vagrant-y.
Yeah.
It looks like too homeless guy to be a wig.
Yeah.
And I think it is Bryan Cranston's real hair. Also, we know that he goes back to his house. We got kids skateboarding in the pool.
Yeah.
We've got it's been defiled and
it's out there. Even the people, his neighbors, know who he is now. I mean, it was like they saw a ghost when she saw him.
That's right. That's Carol.
Yeah, and she saw him and she dropped. It's like they, maybe the world thinks he's dead, which I would imagine that's probably what it is. I mean, people wouldn't react like that otherwise if they thought he was alive.
Well, unless the truth came out and he's now this supervillain.
Yeah, he's on the run.
Like if you were told that your neighbor is this high-powered drug dealer,
Yeah.
and killed all these people, and then he disappeared, and then you saw him again,
Yeah.
you'd probably have that reaction.
Yeah. Basically, the Osama bin Laden of drug dealers. But how I feel, I think I don't want Walt to die because I think death is too good for him. What I want to see happen, and I'm happy with whatever ending that Vince Gilligan comes up with, but what I'd like to see happen is just Walt on the run forever. He can never find safe passage anywhere. He can never find a place to rest.
And he's just smart enough to not get caught, but he never really get a foothold where
he'll never be able to have a life. He's always going to be on the run, and that's a fitting end for him. And I mean, death is an ending. I think he deserves to live in pain. I don't think he deserves. I think death is a release at this point.
Yeah, well, I think there's going to be a definitive closure because I think that kind of ending would, for a lot of people, be like, oh, so they're really not ending the show. They can do a movie. I
could see how people would do that. I can see how people would do that, but because that's just how fandom turns its mind.
Well, I think he's going to be in charge of his own demise.
Yeah.
I think there is going to be a definitive end. I think it shows the whole point of it is how a good person goes bad and is utterly the reason that they fall.
Do you think that ricin is for him?
Could be.
Yeah.
He did go back. I think maybe the ricin is because my wife thought that maybe the whole Hank thing, he was going to try to do a suicide by cop.
Yeah.
Because he could have easily just walked out there and aimed that gun at Hank.
That would have been it. I thought about that too because there's like a second's hesitation when he's got that gun before he drops it. I thought he's going to bring it up, but then we all know that
he lives.
In a weird way, the flash forwards do the show a disservice because we know that Walt makes it out. If we didn't know that, we'd have no idea. I mean, of course, we also know there were 3 episodes left, so
But we also know. But the great thing about that is that you get so involved that during the episode I kind of forget that. Oh, all that stuff they showed us, I forget until they reveal it again.
Yeah,
and then you go, oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. Because they do such a good job of grabbing your attention and keeping you in the moment that you're viewing and not necessarily looking back. Because I think if you get bored, you kind of go, oh yeah, this is what happened before. You're so engaged.
Yeah.
That
all the callbacks are really great from the original show, and like it says, it does feel like it's come full circle at this point. I don't know. I mean, Walt may die. If he does die, I think it'll be by his own hand.
Yeah,
I think it's. I mean, it's even been put in his mind. It's like that awful dinner they had at that Mexican restaurant where Marie says, "Why don't you kill yourself?" And it's like why don't I kill myself?
Yeah,
And
that videotape that he made.
Oh my God, that was
brilliant. Whoever thought of that?
Yeah.
Because as you're listening to the videotape, the final confession that he's talking about, where he's not really confessing, he's really just blaming Hank for everything.
Right.
And it all comes together.
Yeah.
It made perfect sense. I'm listening to it going, yeah, he did pay for his bills. He did all this stuff. He did introduce him to the meth lab by taking him on that ride along that first episode.
Yeah.
It really is all Hank doing and all this stuff.
Yeah. It almost is convincing enough to make you believe it yourself.
If you hadn't watched the show and I had just shown you this tape and then started over, you'd be like, holy crap. If I just took all the Hank parts out. And so you didn't know
it would have been. Obviously they couldn't do it now, but it'd be funny to do this director's re-editing of the series, and that would be the first scene is Hank and Marie sitting in front of the TV and Walt confessing to like that, and then all this stuff coming around, and I don't know, it'd be really cool. I mean, that's one of my favorite moments in the series as well. That whole confession was utterly brilliant.
It's ironic that Dean Norris is the Walter White of Under the Dome.
Yeah,
he plays a calculating, cold-hearted bastard.
I haven't seen that show yet.
It's all right. It's not the greatest thing in the world. And now it was supposed to be a mini series.
Yeah,
and now it's a regular series. So they're going to screw it up and make it a Lost situation where they start filling in stuff.
Yeah,
because you're in a dome. There's no food coming in. They should be dead in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So, and if you read the book has got a whole bunch of stuff that I don't think regular folks are going to... It's Stephen King, so a lot of people are going to go, wait a second, what?
What's difficult about television is that they have to go by season to season. You can't anticipate an end because you never know how successful a show's going to be. And so they have to hook you early. They have to make it click early on, because it's not like it was in the 1980s where a television show could just play on forever, like Cheers or something, or, it would just, even something like the A-Team or something like that, where they actually never had an end game in mind, and they just let the thing run until people stopped watching and then they cancel it. Shows like this now, where you want to have to tell a solid story from beginning to end, are hard, because if it doesn't work in the very front end of it, because Breaking Bad almost didn't make it. It was almost canceled. The only reason it didn't get canceled was, weirdly enough, a writer's strike hit, and they had to stop. But if they hadn't caught some kind of an audience, at least enough to bring it back, if this was on a regular network and not on a cable network, it would have been canceled. We would have never seen anything past this first season.
Well, with the content, and which is weird, because there's some. I didn't see it in its original run, so there's a lot of bleeped out words. I didn't realize. If you watch the first 2 series, they drop a couple F-bombs.
Yeah.
But they bleep them out, or they mute them out.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a second, is this an HBO show that's been on? Because HBO, you expect that kind of thing. And HBO, you would expect this kind of quality.
Yeah.
And I think AMC has really done a good job of going, you know what? We're going to find these short, comparatively 5 seasons. Walking Dead cannot go on forever.
No.
And I'm sure that's got about another 2 years before it's. I just think it's going to be. The Walking Dead's only got about 2 more years before the popularity of zombies wanes.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they. I mean, I dropped out of Walking Dead after the 2nd season. I didn't really. I don't know. The characters aren't compelling to me anymore. Well, I don't know how better it is now. I wouldn't mind seeing more in that universe, not necessarily these characters. But yeah.
Well, there was a connection. I heard that it was a joke, but Walt makes this meth. And
that's why I tweeted that.
Yeah.
I said, Walt makes this meth that turns people into zombies, and there you go, Breaking Dead.
Breaking Dead. There you go. So I think it's been a hell of a show. It's really worth watching. I mean, if you've listened to us now and you're like, well, these guys went off tangents and they said all kinds of stuff and they just assumed we knew. If you haven't watched the show, I can't believe you've listened this long. But number 2, go watch it again. It is just a fantastic show, and I'm really excited about the end. It's on September 29th.
Yep, I think it's the greatest show I've ever seen on television. I mean, that's a big, bold statement, but as far as having me on the edge of my seat and watching it and just being wanting to be a part of it and talking about it, because it's so rich. The character motivations are so rich. The storyline is really intriguing. There's heavy themes playing in the show. I mean, it's a deep series, although, I mean, it's easy to get into. I think it's amazing. I think it's the pinnacle of narrative television, and you have to watch it if you haven't seen it yet. If you haven't seen it yet, man, we just blew the whole show for you.
Yeah.
But even so, I mean, experiencing it, it's not the same as talking about it, and watching it, it's
Science has proven that people who know spoilers doesn't ruin the experience.
Yeah. So. And this show's all about science. So I can't wait to see what happens the final episodes. I unlike other shows who have dropped the ball in the final minutes of the quarter, I don't anticipate this happening for Breaking Bad.
You mean they're not going to have a 80s song cut off into black for no apparent reason? Like
I actually like the Sopranos ending.
I know, but I believe they have an end game. I believe they know what they're doing. It's one of the few times where I'm not worried about them screwing it up. It's just I just can't wait to see what it is.
Yeah. I mean, because everybody's got their predictions, and I'm curious how accurate we are. I don't care if we're wildly inaccurate.
We're 0 for 9. I'm sure we got them all wrong.
Yeah, probably. It's going to be amazing to find out.